Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, building collapse, a phenomenon in the building and construction sector all over the world, has become rampant and more devastating in developing countries. Nigeria is witnessing building collapse at an alarming rate, with the loss of lives, destruction of socio-economic life and the attendant costs running into billions of naira, a situation that is of grave concern to governments. Now, it is held that more than 80% of collapsed buildings in Nigeria can be attributed to man-made factors tied to negligence. This experts say range from usage of quacks or substandard materials to non-compliance with specifications and standards by developers or contractors, and the lack of maintenance culture or inadequate supervision or monitoring. Now, more worrisome is that this is in spite of government's efforts to curb the menace through the enforcement of standards and regulations. But how strong are legislations or even the National Plan Building Code? Are there stiff penalties for owners of collapsed buildings? And what's been done to enforce best practices? These are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live with our distinguished panel of discussants. But first, let's get to see this report by Adebola Brookslyn Sunday.
Construction sites like these are common sites in Nigeria, especially in major capital cities like Abuja, known to be one of the fastest growing capital cities in the world. What observers say is a welcome development. But on the flip side is the sad stories that is becoming persistence, building collapse with many lives lost, injuries sustained, and properties worth billions of naira perished.
Building collapse in Nigeria can be traced back to October 1974 at Mokola, Ibadan, Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, an incident that claimed 27 lives. Research shows that over 600 lives have been lost since 1974 till date, with no assurance of an end to the menace. Statistics shows that 37% of the reported cases of collapsed building from 1974 to 2010 are residential buildings. 14.3% are buildings used for educational and commercial purposes. 12.7% are for churches and mosques use, and 8% are for industrial use. 6.3% shopping complexes, 4.7% are for mixed and occupancy uses, while 17% are for general buildings under construction. On the distribution of the number of collapsed buildings by geographical location, Lagos State, southwest Nigeria, has the highest share, with over 112 incidents between December 1978 and April 2008. What then could be the factors responsible for building failure or collapse?
The building structure, for it to fail, it could be for three main reasons. The first is there could be a design error. The second could be a construction error. And the third could be materials error.
One other reason for the persistent building collapse in Nigeria is what experts attribute to ignorance on the part of project owners.
If you have 100 million, 50 million, 200 million, 1 billion to build a structure, please take time the way you will take time to go to London for your medical checkup. Take time to check whether the person is a registered engineer or not. Those 30 minutes that you can do to do all this search will save you your money, will save life and properties.
Vast majority of the other collapses that have been happening really don't have to do with our members. It actually has to do with the absence of our members. You need to have an engineer involved in one of these mishaps. But if no engineer is involved, when we say engineer, we mean an engineer who is a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, who is registered with a current. Because if he's not our member, we have no we have no business with him.
The most recent occurrence is the 5-story building under construction in Lekki axis of Lagos State. However, the managing director of the construction firm handling the project is being prosecuted, a situation human rights activists called a welcome development.
You can sue the person criminally and civilly. Criminally in the sense that probably the owner of the building has already paid all the monies, maybe looked at the quota and given the whole money for very good standard materials. But the contractor chooses to go and buy substandard materials. You know, that is just deliberately putting up a death monument for people, you know, to go on a suicide mission in the name of renting a place. How can you use your money to buy death?
The case of the Lekki Garden is one out of many, if not all, as most culprits are usually not brought to book since there is no law to arrest and charge non-professionals who can only be referred to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC.
But you agree with me, the process of amending a law is very long in Nigeria. That's why, hence, the reason why we went and have the MOU with ICPC. Before that is done, let ICPC come in and start solving the problem. But eventually, we'll have to go back to the National Assembly and say, look, amend this law. Let it also cover non-engineers.
Besides the selection of durable and sustainable materials that meet defined standards of compliance, experts are proposing appropriate site selection, use of flexible and durable designs, proper commissioning of building systems and equipments before occupation, as Nigerians are eagerly looking forward to proffering lasting solution to this challenge. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guest tonight. Let's welcome to this program the builder Tijani Shuaib Bernunkudu, who's President, Nigerian Institute of Builders. Thanks for being with us here tonight.
Thank you, series.
Right. We are joined by Engineer Kashim Ali, a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, who's President, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good evening.
Let's also welcome Chief Olabode Afolayan, Chairman, Housing Developers Cooperative Society, who's the immediate past president, Real Estate Developers Association. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. As we always do on this program, we'd like to encourage you to be part of it at the appropriate time. The various platforms will be on your screens. You can take advantage of that. But let's quickly say that for those who will be phoning in, do us a favor. We always say this every week. Do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV just as soon as you get through at the appropriate time. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo, if you like. And we also like to encourage you to go straight to the point. Let's avoid all the unnecessary salutations and just go straight to the point and be brief, so that our guests can address the issues and we can get more opinions on the program. So once again, thanks for being with us on NTA Tuesday Live. Let's begin by looking at what has become a regular occurrence in Nigeria today: buildings collapsing. And of course, we do have one which is quite recent, and the attendant loss of lives and the displacement of people. Now, listening to a report there, we heard the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers say that it could be due to a design error, due to construction error, or materials, substandard error in the materials that's being used. Now, which would you say? Well, I am assuming that over the years you must have conducted some kind of research and analysis and evaluated a number of structures that have collapsed. Which would you say is more prevalent in this country?
Myself?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cyril. Well, first of all, it's unfortunate about the recent collapse to hear about the loss of about more than 35 people. It's unfortunate because human loss is more colossal than material loss. And at this juncture, I wonder if maybe we may need to observe some few seconds of silence for the loss of
well, that's hardly, we could hardly do that on TV.
Fine. It's unfortunate, but like the report said, I want to say that Yes, from 1974 to about 2010, 2015, I report that there's a survey of about 200 recorded collapses. 85% of that is attributed to individuals, private owners. 13% is to corporate organizations. Only 3% is attributed to government and public buildings. With that, for me, I think building collapse starts with the developer, with the owner of the property, the client. The professional bodies, all the built environment professional bodies, I cannot come as a professional to execute, to put into practice my expertise unless I'm hired. If I'm not hired, if the individual owner decide not to engage any of the professional body, that's what starts from the building collapse.
All right. So, well, does this mean that you just stay on the sidelines and say, well, it's got nothing to do with us since the owners of the structures did not consult with or engage the services of professionals? Surely professionals must have something, they should have some way of pushing to insist about standards, or in the absence of it, about some law to punish those who are not members.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. Yes, that's where the point of monitoring comes. If a team comes to a site, if there is no law to enforce, I have no right to seal a place or to make sure that standards are being followed. So that calls for an enabling law that allow me to to go with all the team of professionals to make sure that standards are being followed.
Okay, well, let's come to the president of Coren and see.
Well, again, I share the sentiments expressed in terms of regarding the loss of life, and it's quite painful that at this age and time we are losing people for such reasons, because we have gone beyond that in terms of knowledge and experience. It shouldn't be happening again. Having said that, if we look at the trend, really, most of the collapses have been man-made. Design errors have been very minimal. A few cases, very, very few cases, but most of them have been caused by the wrong choice of people involved in the delivery of the projects. And certainly because the wrong people are there, there'll be wrong choice of material. So those are the main things that have caused. And in fact, we have empirical data on that, because each time it has happened, we have tried to investigate. But so at a point when we saw that there was a need to just be a lot more proactive, we set up what we call engineering regulation monitoring, ERM, and we have the committees in all over the country. They go around project sites, whether building or other engineering infrastructure, and raise alarm. When alarms are raised, we send to relevant authorities, because in every state you have they call them, like in Abuja, it's called development control. In Lagos, they call them building control, and also all manners of names that they have. We send notices to them. We have gone to this site and we've seen ethical practices going on there. Usually, where this happens, you don't see site signboards. Nobody puts a signboard to say this is the project, this is who is doing it. Normally, you put the name of the project, the owner's name, the contractor, the engineers, and everybody that is involved in the project. But in most cases, they don't put any such signboard. And that is already a red flag. We go in to ask questions. When we don't get answers that are satisfactory, we report to the authorities. As a matter of fact, some of the issues that have occurred now, as a result of even alarms raised by engineering regulation monitoring teams, like we have a good relationship with the Lagos State. We always give them information, including giving the Lagos State governor information, because we have had a series of problems in Lagos. So we have the data. In fact, I came with a copy that I say I'll leave with. And if you look at the data, you see that we just chose between the recent ones, between 2004 and 2015, and there have been 82 collapses. Casualty has been 457. Then we'll talk about the engineers' involvement. There have been 3 engineers who have been involved in all in all these cases, it's only in one project that engineers were involved. And these engineers, they are both undergoing both criminal and professional trial currently. The matter is in court, and
So the bulk of these cases are
I
handled
can
by
give
quacks.
this one to you.
Right. The bulk of the cases handled by quacks.
Yes,
Non-professionals.
Non-professionals.
All right. Let's come to you, Olabode.
Thank you very much. For me, I have a different opinion about the whole thing. We are all liable. Come to think of it, it's very unlikely for the developer to be the consultant or the person designing the project or the manufacturer of some of the materials being used. So at various levels, you can see that, including the government, because come to think of it, why will you allow an artisan that is not certified to be on a construction site? Or why will you allow construction job being carried out without people fulfilling all righteousness, where there is need for them to bring in engineers? They ought to do that. But in a situation whereby everything goes, it's obvious that we run into such kind of problems. For instance, if as a developer, I'm not saying I'm going to do that, you go to the market to buy construction materials, you probably look for the cheapest one. It is the responsibilities of the government or the agencies of the government responsible for ensuring that materials available in the market meets up with the minimum standard acceptable in the industry.
All right. Okay.
So to me,
well, that might well be so, but how do you respond to a situation where, yes, the materials meet with the standards, the prescribed standards, but again, those materials are going to be deployed. So if, for instance, you have your cement, your blocks, your iron rods all meet with the standards, and instead of putting XY here, you put less than that. How do you respond to that?
thank you. Look at it from this angle. I'm a developer, and you are likely to be one. Maybe you are building your own house. You are not likely to be the man responsible for putting the bricks together. It's obvious that you are going to engage the services of whoever, either a certified engineer or a technical person that by law is acceptable to work on a construction site. So if we must to go all out to reduce cases of unfortunate incidents like this, we must ensure that we, at all time, regulate activities on construction sites. Because you can easily get somebody who call himself a skilled bricklayer to put things in order. By every standard, if you are skilled and you have the information or the construction design or whatever, you are supposed to be able to, for the kind of houses, most of the sites that is being affected, you know that people who work on those sites are certified.
Okay.
But in a situation whereby somebody claims to be, with due respect to my very respected people, in a situation whereby somebody comes up and claims to be an engineer from a reputable university, and me as a developer engaging the services of such people, only to end up in such kind of crisis, what do we do?
Well, I may not mention names here, but I have seen situations where a professional was engaged on a construction site, but the owner would argue and say, look, I know you're saying this, look, we don't have that amount of money, so scale down. What does that, because we have not seen so many professionals walk out of projects and raise the alarm and say, look, I am not going to stake my reputation on this.
Well, it does happen. And okay, I'll just, so I don't embarrass anybody, I'll not also mention it. There's a hotel in this city. It was built early 90s. And there was an engineer, it's my friend. He was involved in that project. And when the owner decided to come in the manner you have described now, he offered to leave. And he left. Shortly after he left, that building collapsed. It had to be rebuilt. It's standing now today, it's good now, but it collapsed because he changed the specifications to not meet his budget, in quote, and then it collapsed. Then he realized that indeed he had to go back and do the right thing. There are quite a number of such cases that happen, and people pull out. The unfortunate thing is that when this happens, there is no focus on them. They do it quietly and then pull out and then withdraw their services. Another case in Abuja happened, and I investigated it for the government. There was a mall in Jabi, in Utako, close to Shida Hotel, that also collapsed. It killed some people. We went to site, we went to the main control, got all the drawings there, and were able to trace the architect that designed it. We traced also the structural engineer that did the structures, and we brought them in. And they came in, they did a design, and the owner said he had his own team that would do the construction. So he's paid them at stage 2. They didn't do stage 3, which is supervision. And it is a normal thing. There are 3 stages. So they stopped at stage 2 and they pulled out. They didn't even know the project had taken off when it collapsed. But what did the man do? He was doing his job. The space they left for his car park, he felt it was too big and wanted to eat into it. In the process of extending, he extended the beams without any redesign for about 15 meters on his own. And that's how the building collapsed. What did he do? He went to CAC, went to everywhere that his documents were, and removed them. Up to today, government does not know who exactly owns that property. And about 400 million, from my estimate, had been invested in that project. But today it has no owner. The land has reverted to government. But these are the things that happen.
Well,
okay.
My take on that is, it's true, yes, a client might come and tell me after all the bills of quantities and designs as appropriately approved have been done, tell me, yes, he has enough money to do that. But to be able to execute the building or the structure. If that happens and he happens to employ the service of all the appropriate professional bodies or professionals on that, he may end up saving money. Because by not involving the professionals, there's always an overestimate and over-construction. If he tells me, look, the budget is so millions of naira, and I have this, 2 ways. The quantity surveyor, the registered quantity surveyor can advise of appropriate materials equally good that can serve the purpose. Equally, the production process where the builder comes. He can tell us where we're only cutting corners, but finding the best way out of the options to utilize what he has. The third option could be to now make it in stages. The money he has can be done after a certain stage. When the money is available, we continue. So if he employs the services of a professional, he will end up saving money instead of losing it.
We've also seen situations where a building was put up for a certain purpose, and after some years, someone has a bright idea and either decides to make it 2 stories, 3 stories, and that wasn't the original concept of it, and all kinds of modifications.
That's alone. That again, I think is inappropriate, because if it's been approved for whatever number of story buildings is done, the load everything has been calculated before the approval is given by the authorities. If for any reason there must be a modification, you have to revert back to the authorities. That's, I want to do this. Then we have to recalculate and find out if that structure can bear the additional load. If it cannot, then it has to be either redesigned or demolished and start all over.
We also see that, well, I recall this as it's many years ago in Kaduna, I think, where an estate was said to have been constructed over very marshy ground, and underneath was a river of sorts. And it took just a few years, and the structures came down. So we ask, what kind of are there adequate tests on some of the structures we see being put up? Because there are times you go around, even non-professionals can take a look at some building sites and say, look, this doesn't look right.
It's an attitude thing. Unfortunately, we have learned to disobey all laws in Nigeria. And you see, if you look at the way we drive on the road, a road could make provision for 3 lanes. We'll create additional lane on our own. And especially at a peak period, we have 4, sometimes even 5 lanes. People go to the shoulder, go to the wedges, and start driving, and create that as if it's a normal thing. And the same thing in buildings. Somebody will be coming to a building, he say he needs a 2-bedroom because they are only himself and his wife. By the time he comes to that house, you could see about 10 people in that. You see somebody with a car also driving a car that can take 5 people conveniently, they'll put 7. Even taxis put 7, and they're allowed. So it has become a norm to just be in violation of laws. It's the same attitude that will carry on into building. Maybe an investor starts a building. Initially, maybe he got approval for 3 floors, suspended floors, and then while building, he got people who want to rent the building, and he now has additional people who pay him extra money. The driving force will be the money he's going to collect. He doesn't even remember that if you go back and have a redesign of that building and get approval, they just go ahead and put. And often, even when they are stopped, they ignore such notices, as has happened in many instances. Even, and unfortunately, people around there will begin to blame the people, the authority members, government officials coming there, rather than the person who is creating the problem. But it's only when there are collapses like this that these issues are brought to the fore. Because like we're talking about this, the current issue, all these things are associated with that project. It, for instance, went beyond where it ought to have been, according to the preliminary investigation we have done, because we have already gone there. It went from a view of the official. They say it went beyond the floors it was supposed to stop. No, but and the other things, maybe in due course I'll talk about them.
Yeah, but these things happen under the eyes of developers, or even developers are part of it. So what's the position of this association in this?
Yeah, you see, what we should be talking about, we should be talking about structure. For instance, I am putting this to the government. In fact, we as responsible or responsive developers, we are coming to talk about not investing money except a state or in a place where the master plan is being put in place. Because not just because we want to invest money, then you begin to prospect and speculate. Government ought to have done for every city, for every location, come up with the master plan. You know, in doing that, you've done your soil analysis, you've been able to tell us for this area, you're talking of Kaduna, for instance, maybe, Kaduna South area, waterlogged, houses must not go beyond 2 floors. These are things that regulations and, put in place in such a way and manner that abuse will be minimal, or if at all. But in a situation whereby you've been allocated land, me, I got mine, and the next person, possibly for residential, and the next person is just coming to put a crushing plant next to you. In short time, you start having problem with your substructure because there is no regulation, there is no standard, and in that case, everybody will end up blaming the man that is coming to do the job. I'm not saying developers don't have blames, but government ought to have done some of these things. Go to places like Rwanda. In fact, in Rwanda, for instance, you cannot even come up with any design, with any development rather, because government must have done the road, done everything in such a way that you don't even break roads before you connect water or before services. But here, a place that is designed to occupy 500 plots with maximum of 2,000 people. Everybody is building because it's designed for low income, but because of the volume of traffic in that area, somebody is going 2-3 floors, and the facilities will not.
You see a lot of that in Abuja. You just need to, even the so-called most modern city in Nigeria today, you just need to take a drive around and you see so many structures like that. Do you wonder sometimes, or does it bother you that you see structures like that in the federal capital?
That's structures that are not, that are beyond or that are abandoned? Or?
Well, looking at them, you wonder sometimes if someone approved those structures to be put up that way.
Yeah, we not wonder, but we are dismayed, because we know what it ought to be. Abuja needs to be a clean, well-organized city. But when you see structures coming up and down in any way, we wonder, yes, because there is violation again of the regulations that are being somehow compromised, the professionals not being given time, they're not given chance to exercise their role and duty to enforce those regulations.
Where you find your members culpable, where they have compromised standards, what do you do?
Definitely, again, Mr. Cyril, if we do, absolutely, we have code of conduct, we have discipline, we subject them to disciplinary sanctions.
Take us through the process. Let's see. Is it stringent? Let's get a feel of the process.
Well, in our professional body, if we hardly get, but if we do, first there is a committee that will be subjected to a disciplinary committee that will investigate and find out that and submit to the council. That council will sit and deliberate and appropriate sanctions, both civil and criminal, and whatever applies, including his deregistration and fine and imprisonment, if found guilty on whatever situation is found. That's how we carry our investigation, our disciplinary actions.
Now for Corin.
Well, before I go there, let me just say, in our cities in Nigeria, we have standards, we have regulations, and it's not even affected by the bearing capacity. You see, on any soil, you can put up any structure, but the structure has to be designed to be accommodated by that kind of soil. You can do 20 floors in the sea if you want to, 50 if you want to do it. But you must go through the process to do. So it's not about the capacity to do it. The problem is, it's about this impunity. Now what do we do? And it's just an unfortunate thing. Anybody who has the misfortune of violating regulations, first you go to an investigation panel, which is standing, and if they establish that a prima facie case against you, we take it to a tribunal. Our tribunal is set up by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and judgment in the tribunal can only be challenged in the Court of Appeal. All right. So we go through it. There's a lawyer assessor that sits with the chairman, and so the lawyers come to defend you. If you want lawyers to defend you, they'll defend you both at the investigation panel and at the tribunal. When you get sentenced, it is gazetted, and nobody will touch you with a 100-foot pole for the rest of your period.
All right, we'll return to that, but the phone lines are already open, and we have our first caller on the line. Oh, okay, that line has gone there. All right, so we'll just encourage you out there to keep those calls coming through. We know that the lines can be erratic sometimes, but hopefully we'll pull through tonight. But yes, and where they have been found culpable, like we have heard, you could also establish a civil suit against those who are responsible. That's in addition to the criminal suit. But again, for so many Nigerians, they would find it amazing that while the professionals have sanctions, the quacks who get into the business just walk. Now, that doesn't make sense, does it?
That is what we went a step further to have an MOU with the ICPC. Because most often, the people who get involved in houses that collapse are not small boys. They are usually people who are stinkingly rich, sometimes they just want to launder their money and they go into this investment and they don't have full control of the investment, because it's not really about investing in the building. It's about putting money there. So they leave it with people who also want to extort money from them, maybe the way they extorted money from whoever they extorted money from. So that is the complication we have. So we say, okay, in that case, we need ICPs to help us, and they have been helping. That's why I would say, for the cases we are dealing with now, there is the synagogue. I won't go into it because it's also in court. We have the other side that many people are not even aware of. There was something that happened at the point of even procuring the design, and a few things that happened while the case was going on, some underhanding. But because we had ICPC, they're able to track and arrest some people. Those people have been arrested, they have been charged to court, and the prosecution is going on. Those are tangential issues to the original cases, but they played a part in procuring some individual to do some funny things, to subvert what we, so these are going on. But again, we don't have the resources, for instance, to put it every time in the media, and the media is not always interested in our cases because they don't make enough news somehow until there's a collapse. So that's the situation that we have.
Well, let's try this other call coming through from Birnin Kabi. Ben calling in from Birnin Kabi. Hello, Ben. Go ahead. Yes, Ben.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Am I on?
Okay.
Okay. I just want to appreciate everybody in the studio. Good evening, everybody. I don't know if you're getting me right now. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go on. We can hear you. Yes, go ahead, Ben. If you're still there, you can see your name is on the screen. Go on.
Please, on the issue of the construction side, and like the developer is there, the engineer from Korean and everybody is sitting there. You see, I extended saying, so please, we have also invited the people from the government parastatal, meaning the agencies responsible for approving buildings also would have been in this panel. Why? Because if any building, before any building is built, the design will be taken to these people and they will actually go for site investigation. When these things are done, the developer now goes on site to start developing. If peradventure there is a collapse, I think whoever is responsible first to evaluate or give that building an approval or that project an approval should be held liable, not as it is the developer. The developer is actually a businessman that wants to invest, spending his money. He's not the engineer, he's not the architect. He employs these people to come into the project to make sure the thing goes on properly. And they give him so and so and so. Yes, he has a right to say, all right, reduce this cost. But the man that approves also has the power and authority to go there to also investigate. The current president sitting down there and the engineers, they can't go to it. These are private individuals. They cannot go to any site and stop work. But a government-approved man can also go to that site and stop whatever construction that's going on if there are illegalities. So please, I think the panel actually, to me, is not really complete because we are not putting people on the spot and they don't talk and nothing. If the government agencies responsible for actually going to sites to monitor this project and it's being done properly, we won't see this kind of mishap. Like what just happened in Lagos. The particular company, as a clear developer, has developed so many other projects, none are failed. Over 500 structures in Abuja, in Lagos, and in Port Harcourt, which we all know. If one collapses, they should find out. Is it sabotage or what would have happened? The other ones, people have been living in them, and nothing has gone wrong. So these are areas I expect Korean to come in the developers, all these things, they should all come together. These are private owned individuals trying to invest money for business. They should look into these things and see what if the government agencies have done their own bit. That's what I want to look at it from. Have they done their bit in actually monitoring the site? Have they done their bit in actually going to check the site, the soil texture in the site, and make sure the materials are being used for such a high-rise building? These are the questions I want these people to help to answer for us. And what is the relationship between Koren and the engineer to these agencies? Do they give them free access, or do they have the collaboration to different sites in the country? These are the areas I actually want to be clear, because there's a lot of questions unanswered, please. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. Just before the response to the issues you raised, just to set the record straight, we did invite a government agency to come on this program. We got no response. So,
thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Yes. All right. Well, he talked about having built so many houses and these collapses. Of course, what we are discussing here is a general problem. We're not even discussing the Lekki collapse yet. Of course, like I said, each time we have an ERM that goes around randomly and report on projects that they have issues with, and we set alarm. We raise alarm and notify institutions that are responsible, like in Abuja, the government control, the Lagos building control. This we do is sometimes what the actions they take as a result of the alarms we raise. The particular case is referring to, yes, there is a government agency that is responsible. They stopped the work, they sealed the site, but because the contractor, the owner and the contractor felt they were above the law, they proceeded to proceed with the work before the collapse took place. Now what we are doing, after the preliminary report we have, because the area they are even building is a reclaimed area, they had to do piles. Now we have to see what the design of the piles and the construction of the piles. They are important for investigation. We need to know the soil bearing capacity. We need to look at the elements. Look at the collapse was total. Total collapse is indicative of so many things. It could be a foundation problem, that everything came down at the same time. And then there's one shaft that is protruding there. That is the only element standing. We don't even know the true character of that shaft. But all these have to be investigated. The next step now is for us to do detailed investigation in conjunction with the government of Lagos State. That is the next step, and we are on that. But we are not there yet. The truth about, and I was so happy if I will thumb up to Governor Ambody, because, look, in this country, the laws are not fair to the people. I was reading in the media recently of this Nollywood actress that is going to jail 5 years for manslaughter for driving a car and hitting somebody. She did not design that car. She just bought a car. It's not somebody certified that car fit to be on the road. She drove it, hit somebody, the person died, is manslaughter. An individual sets up with his money to engage people who are not qualified to put up a structure. It comes down, kills people, and is not charged for anything. Because all the cases that I've cited, none of them has been charged. This is the first time people are being charged. And I pray that they will charge them for manslaughter so that they can go to jail. But that is not the ultimate. We have always advocated, because the kind of death that results from collapses is such that those persons should be killed also. Whether they are engineers or anything, let them be killed so that they know that everybody's life is important. You can't just be putting structures without the right people and then you expect that you get any result. You can't. How many of them take their wives to quacks to operate upon? Or even on themselves? Do they go to, when they see, do they buy medicine on the street? They go to hospitals. They go to proper hospitals where they are qualified doctors. Why would they joke with buildings that will come down and kill people? It's very irritating to us as a professional group.
All right, more calls are coming in. There's still some aspects. Which you would respond to. For instance, the last caller talked about the relationship between these bodies, professional bodies, and regulating agencies.
Thank you very much. Well, the professional bodies like the Nigerian Institute of Building, the Council of Regional Builders of Nigeria, Koren and NRC, and so on, with that, there is no problem about with us and even the other government regulatory agencies. The problem is enforcement of the provisions of the law. And that has may take me to the question of the law empowering the professional bodies to act and to seal a site. That is the law as provided by the National Building Code. That's what should have given us power to go and inspect whether there are professionals that are involved in any site to seal a site.
You know, even before you go that far, a lot of people would ask, do you have a national building code?
Yes, thank you. That's the question. The National Building Code has been approved by the Federal Executive since 2006. What remains is the enforcement law to be passed by the National Assembly. On the part of Nigerian Institute of Building and the Council of Register of Builders and other professional bodies, we took it upon ourselves at the 6th Assembly in 2011 and took the bill to National Assembly for passage into law. It went to second reading and died off there.
Why? Well, you wanted to come in there because
it's unfortunate if we begin to refer to the National Building Code. Because if we have to go by the National Building Code, you will be shocked that people will not get punished by because the punishment is just not too serious.
Why
did we find ourselves in such a situation? Was just because the professional bodies, I remember when we went for the public hearing, everybody, it was like there was no too much relationship between this one shift blame to this, and at the end of the day you find out that nothing serious is coming, and that's why it's voluntary.
Okay, we'll return to the building code in a moment. We've got Humphrey calling in from Abuja. Humphrey, go ahead. Hello, Humphrey.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah. First, I'm sorry. Good evening, sir. Yeah. Yes. First, I want to congratulate the people there. I have my organ there, the Shaibo, Joda Shaibo, and okay. The issue of this building collapse, I believe strongly that the two things that need to be, that need to be put and for. And enforce is the standard and regulations. Standard and regulations. And to find a way to deal with the people who comes with impunity. Doing things the way they want it, without adhering to the rules.
You know what's happening, Humphrey? You're listening to yourself, and that's why you're having all these long pauses. We said at the beginning, if you get through on the phone, turn down the volume of your TV set. I can hear the whole back right from the studio here. And that's why you're pausing. You're listening to yourself.
Okay, sir. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you very well now.
Right.
Is that okay, sir? Is that okay?
Go ahead now.
Okay, sorry. Okay. I can't hear you well, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Just go ahead. We can hear you. Well, all right. Well, we lost that. It was talking about enforcement of standards. But let me just restate this here. You call on the phone, you get through. Turn down the volume of your TV. Put it at a minimum level. Otherwise, we'll have the hurlback. And people tend to listen to their voices. You know, the hurlback will come. By the time I speak to you or you speak, by the time it gets back to your TV, you find yourself listening and pausing in the middle of a sentence. So that's why we say turn down the volume of your TV. There's an acceptable level you can turn the TV to, and then you'll be able to continue and carry on your conversation. So we encourage all those phoning in to please turn down the volume, and then as soon as you get on, just go ahead. Right? Thank you very much. Just keep those calls coming through. Right.
Well, in terms of, you see, enforcement, there's a problem that the institutions responsible for enforcement have. They have manpower shortages. I use the Abuja as an example. The government control, how many staff do they have? Abuja is on the rise in terms of expansion, and even illegal expansions that go on in remote districts. You don't have the kind of personnel that can cover that. So what we suggested at the time is, look, you have professionals that live in all the cities. You could have cells, like you have Maitama cell. You have a kind of a joint venture, not a loose arrangement, where all the professionals there come together to form a team, a cell, and they are responsible for assisting the development control to monitor all production of infrastructure within that area in line with their professional lines, disciplines. So they will help you. Even if you have drawings, you send to them. They'll help you evaluate them and send it back to you, and you convey. Monitoring also becomes their responsibility. That way you can cover all the places. But of course, sometimes people want to hold on to power. So they are not able to do that. And that creates the problem. Because if, like in Lagos, if you have a cell, there are many professionals living in Lekki. If they were the ones responsible, and they are monitoring on a daily basis, because they don't have a choice, because that is where they live, and whether they want to go to site or not, they will see the site facing them. That way they are able to report instantly, and these things could be checked. So the people in government also must accept that they don't have the capacity to deal with all these issues, and others should help them. Until that happens, everywhere in the world, these things are being done. And that is why you see, so that if I'm just passing by in my neighborhood and somebody starts something, I know what to do. Today, if you see you don't even know who to call. And those are the challenges that they have.
Okay, we'll return to the challenges. Solomon from Lokoja, go ahead. Solomon, is Solomon still there? Solomon calling
Hello,
from...
good evening.
Yes, good evening, Solomon.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm calling from Lokoja. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, go ahead.
The point I have to state here is that is the law, I think the law is not in place. That is one point that I have. Then the second is the regulatory body are not really doing enough of their work. Because I'm opportune to be on some certain sites in Abuja, whereby some of the people that are supervising those sites are not really professional. At times, some of the approvals will be made for such buildings, but most of those people that are supposed to oversee the sites, they don't even have time to visit such sites. Meanwhile, the people that are not really trained, they are not qualified, are the people that are conducting supervision on those sites. And I think those are some of the lapses that we are having. So the body in question has to do a lot of work. That is my contribution.
All right, thank you very much, Solomon. Well, you heard the man. And it's what's happening virtually in all parts of the country. It's not just Abuja, but we just use Abuja as an example. You talked about shortages in manpower. But
I think, but you see, for that, I think they have to step up the relationship with the government. Because in other places, particularly in South Africa, they rely so much on the registration council. That's similar to COBO. Works with the government agency in approving and monitoring supervision of construction. In fact, you cannot do anything except they come to your site at various levels. Until they certify your substructure, you cannot go to the superstructure. So by this, They are able to monitor the activities of people who work on construction sites because they have power to stop activities on the site. But going by what we have here, we can never ever have government agency that will have the kind of capacity to monitor construction sites even in villages like where I come from, where you can count the numbers of houses, because people will build at their own time, not necessarily the working.
And they're not likely to engage services of professionals, because we're talking about mostly the structures we see in the cities and big towns. People elsewhere just put up structures.
So
and,
what you need to do, what needed to be done is for us to step up relationship between the agency of the government saddled with the responsibility and the professionals in monitoring. There must be a very strong relationship.
I think my take on that.
Interestingly, there is a good relation. After all, those that are also in those organizations are professionals. You have the building, you have town planners, you have builders, you have engineers, all there, and they are registered members, qualified in their own right. What they have, that's the problem. Government has to take a conscious decision to say, look, let's restructure these institutions such that they can be more effective. Such suggestions have been given to them. It's not like it's a new thing. But somehow people just, they will say beautiful. And that is the end of it. Nothing happens thereafter. When you try now to see how far will this suggestion that was maybe approved by minister, because minister, you send to minister, say, oh, very beautiful. Send it to the agency responsible. And that is the end of it. And I see it more as people wanting to hold on to power that they have. But you could still exercise this power. This collection of people that will help you, we are not going to take any shine off you. The later conveying the approval or non-approval doesn't come from them. They just work in the background for you and get paid, and then you take the decisions. And because it's a collection of people and there's peer review, such evaluations are more authentic and they are more helpful to the organization and for development of our infrastructure, effective development. Because what we have today is a shame. You see, and sometimes when we say we have no money, we behave as if we are spoiled children. Even where they have money, they don't waste money the way we waste. If you go to the Arab world where they have money, they respect regulation. They respect regulation. If you look at the concept of even the Dubai that all of us go to, the UAE regulation, they wanted Dubai to be a commercial center. That's how we have high rises. They wanted Abu Dhabi to be a capital with its civility. And that's why I don't see the kind of structures you see in Dubai in that place. It's decision. At any point in time, there has to be a conscious decision. That political will seems to be lacking in our own setup.
Let's go over to Lagos. We have Niyi on the line from Lagos. Hello, Niyi.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I will just quickly go to a couple of points that I think I have to raise. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being up here tonight. One thing I will want to point out is very many of these individual groups, Nigerian Institute of Builders, Nigerian Institute of Architects, Korean, and the developers, they all have a portion of the blame of what is happening here in Nigeria. And the government and to have theirs. First thing first, there is not enough mobilization. And what I mean by this is that people need to be properly educated when they have buildings coming up around their neighborhoods. You know, who to call, who to speak to alert the government agencies. What government agencies you need to get in touch with. And secondly, there seems to be a kind of discourse between Nigerian Institute of Builders, Nigerian Institute of Architects, you know, because I hear design and build. Architects designing and going ahead to build. You have the builders who should be doing the building. You have the architects who should be doing the designing. The engineers too, they have their own role in all of this. There is still a lot that needs to be cleaned out, and that's why when you bring any of them to the fore in case of a building collapse, architects trying to defend their own part of the building, they have to be on the site too anyway, because you have to go back in there to make sure that your design is strictly adhered. And the builders are the ones that are to build. In Nigeria, everybody just takes these things up. I'm not even going to talk of the artifacts that should not even be on the site, and if they're going to be on the site, they are supposed to be oversight by these various organizations. And the government, they are not doing enough. We've had enough of this, but I think most importantly, please get the people properly informed on who to call. So when you see a building coming up in your area, you are going to be like a whistleblower, drawing the attention of the appropriate government agency to come on in there unsolicited, to come in, take a look at what you're doing, close it off if they feel there is a need for them to do that, without which we've gone through this cycle for a little too long for me. We've had it again this year. We may still have another one within the next couple of weeks. So I am urging and I'm appealing, I'm pleading with Nigeria, wherever you may be and you see buildings coming up, give us the numbers, names of people you have to talk to, people you have to call, alert them and let them know so and so is going on at my back here, and we want it taken care of. I hope, gentlemen, I made some sense tonight, and I hope gentlemen here can address some of the issues I've raised. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Ni. Well, there is quite a number of issues here, but we'll look at them after this short break we'll take. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back after these messages.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. na Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring una this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Just before the break, we had a caller from Lagos, Nii, and he spoke extensively about how to address these issues. And I guess I would like to respond to some of the issues that he raised, beginning with the builder.
Thank you, Mr. Siro. Well, let me start by saying that the passage of the National Building Code, sorry if I insist, is key to all enforcement. And contrary to what my colleague said, at the hearing that took place was for the revision of the National Building Code, not the enforcement. It's during the revision. It is during the revision that there were some discrepancies. That does not stop. That does not stop it from being passed into law. It's just revision. Now, what I mean is, if it is passed, if the legislators pass it into law, there is going to be, once it is passed into law, the provision of that code, I went through it.
Okay.
Provides for establishment of the National Building Code Enforcement Unit by all states, all the ministries. And that unit comprises of all the respective professionals. It's a team. It can be as many teams. They are now empowered with law enforcement to go into any building, any site, and seal it and make sure everything compliance is being done. And that's what's because like we said, the regulatory body, the other ministry cannot go and monitor, but that enforcement unit can enforce the law.
Yeah, but we're talking about a code here now that has suffered all kinds of fits since 2006, like you said. So what stage are we in now?
Thank you very much again. Like I said, at the 6th Assembly, after it is passed in 2006, at the 6th Assembly, the Nigerian Building, the Carbon, and other professional bodies, we put together and put it forward for passage into law. It went to second reading at the 6th Assembly, and unfortunately, it couldn't pass through. It's tied. At the 7th Assembly, we started again. We represented it at the 7th Assembly. It went to first reading and never continued again.
Yeah. Now you have the 8th Assembly.
Never, because
now with the 8th Assembly, we are preparing, and I think this is the winds of change.
Except we are
my take is, with this change, we are passing again for passage into law. I think with this change mantra, I think that passage, if it's done, that's what will empower to sanitize the building sector.
But mind you, we are all stakeholders. You don't just come up with laws that will favor one side without, because what we were talking about, I was part of it throughout. If if I engage the services of a professional, and what happened in Lagos had to happen. What happened means that according to the law, I mean, your bidding, you will just walk away with your certificate and start working somewhere else. Why the developers will be suffering?
No, the truth is, it can't even happen when you engage professionals.
Exactly.
Who says?
Exactly. It can't happen.
Why?
It can't happen.
No, it can't, because they would have taken all the necessary steps.
Yes.
And if
mind you, do you know what happened in Lagos? We have professionals working with, in fact, some of your colleagues did the piling. One stepped out.
We are not. If that is
because
true,
we should not be discussing that now.
Bring them out.
Because the man I'm not. He will defend his own. No, I can't hold brief for him.
Don't do that. Then you
right.
make it lose.
Did you have an input into this building code that has suffered since 2006? Did you have an input?
Of course. Of course.
I mean, your body.
Yeah, we said it is good for us to ensure that there is punishment for everybody. If I'm liable. But for them, they said if a professional does that, all will happen to him. He will pay a fine of 1 million naira, or he will be sanctioned for 2 years. So for lives, and we live on borrowing. For lives and money that is just going the drain. An architect or a structural engineer will just
No, I don't think.
No,
that,
no, no.
I don't think that is
we
correct.
Just say
there will be criminal liability.
Absolutely.
Normal. You see, these things we are doing, we are not reinventing the well in Nigeria. But having said that, I'm not even looking at the building code as it were. We have sufficient regulation now to ensure sanity. What happened in Abuja, we have not forgotten, when El-Rufai was minister, many houses were taken down that were not in compliance with the regulation. The regulations have not changed. So it takes a political will for someone to say, look, I want to implement the law, and he will do it. Because the government control units that are all in the state capital, in all states of Nigeria and the FCT, have the powers to remove buildings that are not in order. Once they seal it, nobody should be able to break the seal. But like this, the people who did break the seal, at least they are bearing the after this now, I'm so happy. I was so happy when I saw television, the two of them in handcuffs. I was so happy.
Absolutely.
And I'm keeping that video for my children to even see it. Because I was so happy. Because this is the first time that somebody is being held accountable for taking people's lives.
Yes.
Just because you have money does not give you the right to take people's lives. This is what they are doing. Because by the end of the day, if you are proud, if you have people, why bring them out? We have gone to the side there. We didn't see any information. Information should be available on the board. There's none there, which means they're hiding something. So we have had an experience in synagogue where the assumption was that they had these people. It was much later they came out. And the truth about it is something else. It will come out, not today, it will come out how those people were brought in. At what point did they come in? Is it before or after the collapse?
Exactly.
Are they driven by passion for faith or foolish loyalty to another human being? Or they are being driven by something else? Those things will come out in due course. But we're not discussing that now. The regulations we have today are sufficient to make effective control of these things. But because, again, two reasons, this love of power and the fact that they don't have enough personnel to cover all the areas they need to cover. These are the things.
No, but these are critical areas in international life. And we hear this all the time about agencies not having enough manpower to carry out the functions they're supposed to. And this is a huge indictment on the whole system, because it also means that what's the use of having a regulation in place and you cannot enforce it? It's as good as not having any.
Exactly.
Well, again, yes, and the interim, while I was talk about the building code again, in the interim, we're all the professional bodies, especially Korean, the architects and the builders and the engineers, we are all available. We're in thousands. We have met with the like FCDA have met with the revenue control. We offered ourselves into the services because we are in the field. We can now, when we see something going on, we can report. We can assist in reporting to the agencies that so things are doing wrong. Like the president of Korea said, we have the monitoring. We have our foot soldiers. If we do it and we report to this, at least we help them to come and checkmate and put things right. I think that will help. In the absence of having enough agencies, enough people from the ministry to go out and supervise or regulate.
Okay, so in the case where you have very few people, you are offering your services to go out and help in the regulation. Korean is doing the same thing. At what point? What are the strategies that the estate people can come up with?
In fact, for us, because we are so much concerned about lives and the money we invested in the transaction. Most times you see developers, even here in Abuja, we bought vehicles just to support, because we want our construction site to be properly monitored so that we don't run into some of these crises. I have done it in Kwara before, where we had to buy 2 vehicles for the unit. I mean, government agencies, so that they can move around, so that they can support what we are doing, so that we don't run into crises like that. Here in Abuja, Redan, we got vehicles and we collaborate very well with development control on some of the construction site where we had. So for us, those are the kind of things we can do to help government to function. But sometimes, just like what we can see today, I overheard you saying that you invited the agency of the government. And if government is not represented there, speaks volume. So it shows that us going to them, you can never get anything. I'm sorry, I have to leave.
All right, let's take this call coming from Kaduna. Mohammed calling in from Kaduna. Mohammed, go ahead. Hello, Mohammed.
Sorry. Hello, good evening, Uncle Phil.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed Jamil. I'm calling from Kaduna.
Hmm.
My contribution is that I'm an upcoming inspector of Valua. I think there's an important aspect of building entirely that is being left out. That is the soil test. I remember in Sudan, they usually tell us that when such buildings are to be constructed, the kind of soil testing is being carried out, where samples are being taken from the site and being taken to the laboratory to check the soil capacity or bearing capacity of that soil, whether it can be able to take that kind of structure or not. Apart from the building material itself, the soil is also an important and integral part of it. I think most developers are not putting that into consideration. The flair and zeal for getting money, quick money, has driven some of these requirements like redundant. And the government on its own part, I think a lot of government agencies are not doing what they're supposed to do, designating all these developers and builders alike. I think the government needs to wake up and make sure they have this kind of routine checkup from all constructions being made after giving the approval, before and after and during the construction period. I think when that is done, I feel this loss of life and consistent collapse of buildings will reduce to DRS minimum. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Well, just before we look at what is in, we have a couple of tweets here. Aliu Sharif tweeted it and says, developers are part of the problem. Koren and the Institute of Builders can only advise. Even if reports are made, nobody acts on them. And he goes on still to say, there should be laws that will enable the professional bodies to supervise and prosecute defaulters. Well, placing the blame at the doorstep of everyone. But so far we've talked about what's involved human factors. Well, what about the materials themselves? Is there any way we can check on the quality of materials that we have in the market?
Absolutely.
You see, the issue of material, and I like to discuss this. That's why a professional is required. For instance, if they bring you, because you are a journalist, if they bring you a beautiful camera, a camera that could look so beautiful, or a microphone, there's a way you test it, you know this camera, even though it looks golden and beautiful, is not the right stuff. It's a trade secret that nobody else will know unless the person is trained. The same thing with use of material. On a building site, nobody carries cement and start using it. Nobody carries aggregate and start using it, or sand, or anything at all. What you do first for structures, you now say, I've designed this my structure to give me certain grade. I need grade 20, 25, 30, and so. Now, you do a trial mix on site with the materials you have to ensure that when you do it, when you batch it, you get the grade you want before you start using. So, irrespective of the quality of material, whatever is the grade you have, you must do that as a preliminary case. The same thing with you, or for major projects where you have reinforcement, but you take them and also ascertain that they meet the requirement. Not that somebody says it's 10, but the white 10 or 12 or something, and you just pick. You don't. A professional will not pick it because he knows he will take responsibility. You first of all go and check and be satisfied before he uses them. That is the difference between an untrained person and a trained person. Because an untrained person comes, he sits down, I don't know, sorry, he sits his particular service, okay, I used it on that side. You have forgotten that the cement that you use on that site, even though it's from the same manufacturer, the quality will change because of the environment that you are. So it's not every concrete you mix is personal to you. There's that until people understand that. We find it difficult to understand why people think it's so easy to practice this thing when you have not been trained. And that's why we have these challenges. In due course, you will see when you stay, you will see that because somebody use a particular material somewhere, you just bring it and size it. Somebody use a design somewhere, you just start using it on your own. Your site conditions are different.
We'll come to that. Let's go to Yola. We have Ibrahim calling in from Yola. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. I was hoping today could be the night of Ibrahim, just like it was 2 weeks ago. Mine is just a little contribution, and I want to be very straight. I think most of the problems that we are facing today, we're in a situation whereby today in this country, everybody feels that if I build a house, I've achieved a lot in life. And people see building houses for commercial purposes as a way of making it in life. But I think, again, government have to step up in terms of creating awareness to people, just like the last caller did mention about soil tests. Location, trying to make people understand. It could be on flyers, it could be on adverts. In every state, if the government can just try to let people understand the location that are suitable for residential areas, so locations that are more or less suitable for commercial estate and things like that, for people to understand that places whereby are not so good for residential areas, talking about places that are more or less waterlogged or things like that, which means the person building the house will need twice of the materials that he's going to build in elsewhere. Okay, that's one. Now, secondly, again, one important thing in this country today is, the government should, kind of look into a kind of policy. The relationship between people who want to build and the government agency. There's a lot of protocols and procedure. A lot of people in this country want to go through the government agency before building houses. But this issue of come back today, come back tomorrow, you have to do this, you have to fill in this, it takes a lot of time. I'm not saying the government are doing it deliberately, but in some cases we know it's deliberate, or in some cases somebody elsewhere is not doing what is expected to do. But government should try and create a very, very good relationship. Should have a welcoming face. At times people will come with their kind of ideas, then government should, kind of educate them more towards what they want to do and listen to them thoroughly. It's possible because, like just some of the people there saying that they do help out in with some vehicles to go to the site, and government can equally, visit the site. So the reason why we should do this is to avoid such kind of problems. And if you have a complaint and you push it forward and you're being listened to, even if you're being denied approval, okay, at least you learn one thing than, not than just come back today, come back tomorrow, and the procedure is taking so much time. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Yes. That's another aspect as well. People say sometimes people start off on the right path in terms of getting the necessary approvals and getting the professionals to work on structures, but along the line where regulatory bodies, approvals are sought from regulatory bodies, the procedures are cumbersome. And so out of frustration, they just skip some of them.
I think I want to disagree with that.
That's one of the issues that the last caller raised.
It's true. That's what I was saying. They should, they don't have enough manpower. So if an individual, you have.
Sometimes it takes us
somebody
2
could
years.
have, somebody could have about 100 drawings
for you to get.
So it takes all the.
Pages.
I have gone through it when I wanted to just make an adjustment to my house, and I wanted to follow the law. I waited for 1 year, and at the time I did this, I was a senior official of the FCDA. I waited for 1 year. The reason I waited any year was because I wanted to prove a point that I will obey the law no matter how. So I did. It took me 1 year to get that one, so I know what they are talking about. And it is one of the reasons why we say, look, decentralize the operations. Right. Let people help you. They are not taking any shine out of you. They are professionals who are your colleagues. When you retire, you won't go and join that same league. But what they are doing is to help you in those areas, to help you fast-track this process, evaluate it, give you the result. You are the one who will give the approval. It's not them, but they help you to do that, and you pay them a little fee. But somehow they don't seem to be interested, and that is why we have all these problems of people. But again, it's not the reason. The laws drag and drag. The courts also are like that. You jump and say because the court didn't give you judgment, you go and procure judgment.
Break the law.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes. All right. Moses calling in from Warri. Moses, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Serene.
Good evening.
Good evening, Serene.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead, Moses.
I want to speak on. Yes, I want to speak on the material. I want to speak on the material issue. The material issues. Yes, there are substandard materials on market today, which most of the rods that are supposed to be 12 mm, are not complete 12 mm. And those that are supposed to be 16 mm to be used for a particular structure are not complete 16 mm. And this may be causing most of the collapsing that we are seeing today. Then another thing, there is a particular engineering that are called structural engineer, who's supposed to be on site when a high structure building is being put in place. Those people will supervise every columns that want to carry weight and know that if the particular rod that's supposed to be used for that column is being used. But today you find out that most sites will only have one engineer, and which is building engineer. Building engineers specialize in Smith measures and all that, concrete. But the structural engineer is supposed to be on site to monitor every rod that is used for every column. So that is what I have to contribute.
All right. Thank you very much, Moses, calling in from Warri.
I think on this note, actually the question of materials on site can be regulated. Yes, if it's true in the market now, 12 mm road are now somehow 11.5. But that doesn't mean that if the structural engineer designs 12 mm and you cannot find it, you can rearrange it instead of, for example, instead of 4 12 mm, you can make 6 this 11.5. On that note, that's the role of the builder, who manages the production, the process of the production of that building.
And but these adjustments, of course, will have cost implications.
Yeah, we have cost implications, okay. But at least you can advise, and you cannot compromise on that material, because the designer, the structural engineer designs for the load bearing. The builder can now execute exactly in accordance with that specification. You can make some changes but the material quality can be maintained.
But I don't want to agree totally with you. Do we need that? Do we need to continuously waste human resources because something coming out of the factory ought to have been out fulfilling the actual specification. That's
another part. That's another
no,
aspect
we are talking about material, you understand? For us to now say, okay, let us allow the engineer to further subject it to, when it's coming out of the factory at meeting a particular, we can do that so that you can save your energy to do something else. We should control material reasonably. Okay. Standard organization.
Okay. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
If now I give you a pack of money, it is wrapped and there is written 100,000, I give it to you. Yeah. So it's a waste of time for you to count it.
No, because no. That will not suffice. No, that will not. Excuse me, that will not. What? So no, that will not. But if you go to the bank and you get a sealed money, wrapped, sealed, coming from CBN, for that other one is already with you. Why should I trust you? But this one is coming from the factory, so that will not work.
Okay, let's take this call from Abuja right here. Joel is on the line. Hello, Joel.
Hello.
Yes, hello, go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, good morning. Well,
I'm Joel from Abuja. Sorry, I just want to point out one area that we're failing to look at. When you take a comparative analysis of old structures in Abuja, take a look at the high-rise building in Area 10 and the new structures that are being developed by property developers, you notice that these new ones have defects, even from construction. Almost all of them have rising water problem, that's down.
That even when we visit, like ERM visits a site, it doesn't leave any mark behind, other than photographs that will be sent to development control. We have observed there are some estates. If I have friends who have contacted me, for instance, saying they want to buy a house, and I've advised them, there's a particular one estate in Abuja and a developer in Abuja, and I've told them, never buy from that person, because unless yourself you want to buy the land. Yeah. Because I have had, you don't even need to be an engineer, for instance, to know that this structure is bound to fail. It's a matter of time, and they will fail. But what we do is to go to such places, take photographs, and send to development control. Please, these structures are fragile. If you want us to do an integrity test for you, we could do to determine the exact strength. But certainly these structures cannot stand the test of time. And that is where our advice stops. We can't force them to go to site and do whatever they need to do. But we record it and keep. That's how we have kept this record that I just take a bit of it to bring to the...
We'll take your views on that just as after we get this call from Kanu. Abdul calling in from Kanu. Go ahead, Abdul.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Cyril. I can hear. Hello.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Good evening. I want to say a big hello to my big brother there, Alex Tijani, the president of Institute of Building. This is Architect Abdul from Kano. Well, my take on this program, this whole issue is, you see, because the building industry itself, there's a lot of money that changes are so lucrative, and corruption has gone into it right from the start. And the agencies we have in all the states and the federal level don't seem to have enough manpower, to kind of tackle all these issues. So I think we should not be deceiving ourselves. The professionals are there, but are they truly engaged by these developers? Because most of these developers, to be honest, they like cutting costs, so as just to, make more money, put on these shanty buildings and give them out to people to just go in, not minding what happens. The professionals themselves are not helping matters. You find that when a professional, is on site, and if you see that there's no money that's coming out of the site, maybe hardly goes there to even supervise. And the Standard Organization of Nigeria too should come in, because definitely there's a lot of substandard materials coming into Nigeria. And at this time of the, at this time of the century, I don't think Nigeria, over 50-something years of independence, should be having these cases of collapse building with all the professionals we have in the country. So really, we professionals should be up and doing. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abdul from Kano. Well, that's just it. We say we have so many professionals, but is it just a simple question of not involving the professionals, or is there something fundamentally wrong here? We're in a country where you say you have so many professionals, and this is happening.
I think it's true because in this case, corruption, like he mentioned, has to do with a lot to do with that. Both at the professional level, at government, everywhere. I think we have to. They are what you can call professional prostitutes.
Everywhere.
There are people who compromise. I think that's one of the key factors. Of course, the substandard building materials also contribute. If in the first place they are not being allowed into the country,
why should we have
that? The quack or the unprofessional may not even see them to use. He'll be forced to use the standard ones. At least it's a headway. He might not use them appropriately, but at least they are standard. But the allowing all the substandard materials to flood the market. That's another. That's a factor.
Roofing sheet. Somebody will tell you 0.55. When you have to buy micrometer screw gauge to even.
It's not your. You see, that is what the area. My problem with developers. It's not your business to get micrometer.
No, I'm not saying me. I don't need
to. I'm saying a developer is not. That is why. That is the whole idea of engaging a professional.
Exactly.
Look, if we have had cases reported to SON that come out of people's experiences on site, if for particular maybe iron rods, and you get low quality iron rod supply, because not only once you see that it's already even the size is reduced, the next thing is to even go and check the quality, and that is done by metallurgical engineers. They will do it for you and tell that the consistency of even the material is not even okay for it to be used in a building. Then you can now raise an alarm again to SON, and they will go and carry the whole batch. We have had to stop. There was a time they were bringing some from Korea that had those kind of challenges. And they all taken back to the owner was asked to go and collect wherever he sold them and bring them back and take them back out of the country. It has happened. We have agencies that can do that. But because the people who are even using these people material are quacks, so when they just see it as mint, as my brother said, and just use. It's coming from the factory, so it should be used. But if a quack will use it that way, an engineer or a professional will not use it that way. That's the difference. Exactly. So the bottom line is get the right person, and all other problems are solved.
But like he rightly said, fundamentally, because if you go to the market, for instance, today, a lot of professionals are claiming ignorance.
Okay, let's hear from Jos. We have a caller on the line from Jos. Hello? Hello? Yes, if the caller from Jos is with us, go ahead.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, we can hear you. Go on.
Hello? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name is on screen, so just go ahead.
Hello?
All right. Well, again, returning to the issues raised by Abdul, who called in and talked about
materials.
Yes, and materials.
What I was trying to say is, go to the market in Abuja today, and they say 12 mm. For every 1,000 pieces of iron rod steel that you put together, they called one 12 mm. You hardly get 5. That is 12 mm. And we know about this. And nothing is happening. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So the issue of you saying you have to bring in a professional, let us ensure that, let's call a spade a spade. Why should we?
No, once that is reported, in fact, if you know a shop now where that is, if you are not ready to report, I'll go with you there, take the information and I'll report it to Son. And they'll go there and seal that shop and take the materials. That is what they are meant to do. It's not like you see the wrong thing and then you keep quiet about it, or you say you use it because you are helpless. How can you be helpless?
We are not helpless.
So
I'm only telling you the situation of the market.
If it is so, you must report it. Because it's not acceptable.
You mean you can, because everybody
is not acceptable. So anybody who accepts it is also condoning quackery.
Okay. Abuja here. Idris is on the line. Hello, Idris. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. And turn down the volume of your TV. I can hear the echo all the way.
Yeah, I'm hearing you and I'm seeing you live. Yeah, I want to contribute in the area of our engineer today in the country. We have seen when a specification is given to a site engineer to use, and they started shortchanging the materials to be used because they want to make more money, even if they are paid. So their profession should be very well taken care of. They should not bastardize it. Secondly, if you are on site and you are controlling a particular section of the site, be you structural engineer or a building engineer, please, we should reduce our cost of service to the people so that they can patronize us. That is why people are running away from the professional to the quacks one. In Abuja here, all the houses you are seeing in all the estates today are built by quacks people. We can mention them for you. There are many. Thank you. Please, they should try and reduce their costs so that people can use them. Even if it's a little token every day, they are doing something, they are engaged. It's better than running away from them. Thank you. God bless you all.
Right. Thank you very much. Rather scary to say, well.
I want to say that over the last 2 years, I have participated. We have what you call the Built Environment, Presidents and Registrar of the Built Environment Forum, which had a meeting at NSC. And I attended more than 5 times. So it was, in fact, it was directed by BPE to harmonize our fees. And we have already done, we have come into agreement with Korean and everybody. We have harmonized all the scale of fees on hourly basis. So it's now into one booklet. Where you check for the engineers, for the town planners, for the builders, all our fees from every level is there. It has been agreed by the federal government. So it's not a question of reducing or not. However, there are exactly yes. So there were issues where for certain, for example, to pay a professional builder, if he's to be paid 70,000 naira an hour, and that building is only 5 or 10 million naira, you find that I'm going to last for 3 months. So for him, the professional will
twice.
So in that case, that's provision where that professional can now negotiate.
So you see, a thing like that will encourage that person,
so
if
that
he's a strong will, to go look for someone who will...
exactly, we have agreed on that.
As they say in Nigeria, small price.
But it's a case of penny wise, pound foolish. Because by the time you engage the quack, you will lose your building or your structure in a short time.
Yes.
Look at the example the gentleman gave about the high rises that you have in Area 10 and all the other places, that they are standing. Even the individual looking at these structures will be sure within himself, without even being an engineer, that, oh, these structures are standing firm and they are likely to be stable. And it's something I can do.
You have so many
but we have so many privately owned estates.
And you see
that I've been advising all my friends. Like, I always go, when I go, I see the building. I say, this, in fact, looking at this building, from my experience in practice, this structure cannot last its lifespan. So if you are investing in the plot, go ahead and buy. But if your interest is in this building, don't buy. There are some that are very good, but some are extremely poor. And that is why I was saying that is the problem of regulation of the government institution like the Mecca that is not doing enough job. This building should be brought down now before they kill people in the next few years.
Okay, this call might very well be our last tonight. Nduka from Newi. Go ahead.
Good morning, Cyril.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Cyril.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Ndoka is my name. I'm calling from Newi. Thanks a lot for assembling. Thanks a lot for assembling the crew of professionals that you have here. It's most interesting to note that virtually all the issues that border on the integrity of building structures have actually been discussed. But I just need, for on a summary basis, to just say that the responsibility of professionals has a contribution. The fact that the building production management on site are not strictly adhered to is a challenge. The issue of national building code has been mentioned. The matter of corruption in the land, right from the estate developers to the professionals to government officials, it is widespread. Then the procurement system we have in this country makes it practically impossible for us to achieve what we need to achieve, because those who put together this procurement system are aware that there are professionals who are basically trained to handle this issue, but these are not respected. My brother, the president of Korean, has mentioned the issue of incapacity of that is the incapacity of resources on the part of the regulating bodies. The approval system has been highlighted. One other fundamental issue that has not enjoyed proper attention there has to do with the activities of artisans and craftsmen. Whatever designs we do, whatever professionalism we think we have, if we are not in a better position to have the correct quality of artisans and craftsmen, if we are not in a better position to manage them according to the specifications of the building code, if we are not in a position to remunerate them effectively, we will have a problem. Then we look at most of these structures. We have city development master plans. These city development master plans, are they respected? In the case of Lekki, for example, we've been hearing that the floors, the number of floors they are jacked up, may be for pecuniary financial interest of the developer. Material standards, yes. Sun has not been helpful in that, and the fact that quacks are used has not helped also. My brother there, the person from the estate developers, he was trying to state the fact that they go to the market to check the sizes of the materials. It is not so. Sun has not done their work. Professionals are not engaged. Even by the discussion we have there, you can see that there are three arms to this argument. The government on one part, the estate developers on the other part, and the developers. The developers will want to cut corners. The professionals who are corrupt want to cut corners. The government agencies who are supposed to regulate this are corrupt. If you look at the approval system, it's a sham. Now, if we now say, let us look at the respective locations where these buildings are coming up, you discover that we have peculiarities in soil structure. What does it take government to technically map the soil locations in Nigeria? Even with the peculiarities of a state like Lagos or Port Harcourt, to map the locations and say, these locations are like this, you must do this, this is the minimum of what you have to do. This has not been done. We are playing to the gallery in the country. The issue of the National Building Code is a case in point. If the National Building Code is operationalized on the part of professionals, each professional knowing what to do, the National Building Code is like a statement in quality control. The engineer knows what to do, where to do, and how to do. The builder, the electrical engineer, and if you look at it, there is stage-by-stage certification in such a manner that at every stage of the building construction, you discover that every stage is certified, mutually agreed to that quality has been given pride of place. But that is not being done. The developers in this country are taking advantage of professionals. Professionals should be put in the proper perspective and be held responsible and accountable. If they fail, like my brother, the Korean president was saying, they should be sent to the gallows.
Okay.
People are steal and get away with it. But when you build and have error, and those errors lead to human life, people should be certainly sanctioned.
All right.
That's my contribution.
Okay.
Thank all of you for the sincerity of purpose in this discussion, and special regards to my president, Dr. Tijani Shaib. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Nduka, who called in from Niwi. And, well, we're just about winding down now. And, of course, a couple of more tweets just to put the whole thing in perspective. Abdullah Audu again sent in another opinion. He says, the Nigerians penchant for flouting regulations and directives from constituted authorities is what we are paying for. And that point has also been made here. And then Al-Mansur Mansur says, architects should know their boundaries. They design and build. It's not acceptable. They are part of the problem. Okay, so this is it. And it's the job of a qualified builder, not even a civil engineer's job. Said Akon should not joke with building production. These are the opinions of people who are watching this program. But we're winding down now. So how best can we ensure that standards are followed?
From my own hand, I want to suggest that at this point we should begin to ensure that everybody must be accountable.
All right.
Be it professionals, developers, regulatory agency, and the government, and the people. Because it's of no point for you to see a building marked with X and you still go there and negotiate under any, you should just, the public must be properly informed and they must take their future in their own hands.
And on the issue of regulations and adequate laws where people just walk away after being involved in such terrible occurrences.
I think the least they should charge people for should be manslaughter. That is a list. But beyond that, I think let's put something clear. In a building, since we are discussing building now, on a building, the job of the architect is to design, initiate, visualize, conceptualize, and put a design that will look aesthetically appealing to the owner and all those who will be associated with the building. Functional, thank you very much. Then, the structural engineer, and I must specify, structural engineer has a responsibility for designing all the load-bearing elements, the beams, the slabs, the columns, such that the integrity of that building will be maintained and it will be safe for people to live in it comfortably and use it the best way they could. The builder does the production of the building. Then there's the mechanical and electrical who come in to do the services. So these are the core people taking place. So if you have a building and you go and get a petroleum engineer to do it, you are in error. If you get a
and don't forget
and we want to talk about that. Even so, within engineering, the people we have for structure is structural engineers.
Or even get an electronics engineer, for instance, to put up a building.
Because we have had a case where someone say he got a petroleum engineer. What is his business on the? But he was telling lies anyway. So.
All right. And your final words.
My final word, yes, like my colleague said, To put a building a structure is a teamwork.
Okay.
It's a teamwork. All the professional bodies, if involved in line of their own duties and the line of core competence, I think we can deliver and guarantee a safe and healthy building. But also the passage of the National Building Code into law will help in enforcing the law and making sure that sanity is being restored.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll have to leave it here at this point and say a big thank you to all our guests. Tijani Shuaib Birnin Kudu, a builder and president of Nigerian Institute of Builders. Thank you very much for coming. And of course, Kashim Ali, a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, president, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, Koren. We thank you for your thoughts. And of course, Olabo Diafolanyo, Chief, MNIM. That's a member of the National Institute of Management. Yes. We thank you for being here. He's the Chairman, Housing Developers Cooperative Society and immediate past president, Real Estate Developers Association. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
And thank you too to all those who took part in this program. Those who were part of it, we thank you for also sharing your views and thoughts with us. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.